Sunil, can you walk us through Tamil Nadu fire rescue mission? Emotionally broken down.
Most of the people don't have anybody to look up to become an helicopter pilot. Number of helicopters which are there in the civil market and the pilots which are there is a huge gap between the demand and supply. Close to about 1,000 plus helicopters are going to come in next 5 to 10 years. Technical failure in our helicopter, and if the tail rotor fails, the helicopter is literally out of control. And we crash landed. When you're dying, the entire life, kind of revolves in front of your eyes. And in those 15 seconds, I actually remembered like all the important people in my life.
What does it take to fly a machine through storms, into war zones and above the Himalayas, all while carrying the president or rescuing lives from burning forest? Today, we dive deep into the awe-inspiring journey of Wing Commander Sunil Dhanakar. Welcome Sunil to Wind Chasers, and it's a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you so much, Sumaya. And I'm really happy that the Wind Chasers have called me for this podcast today. And I heard what you spoke about me in the beginning, very big words. And I hope this conversation is very enriching and learning for everybody, and
Yes.
at the same point of time, a fun conversation.
What was that very first moment that came in your mind that you wanted to become a helicopter pilot?
To become a helicopter pilot. Well, to tell you very frankly, it might come as a shocker to the people who are watching this. Leave alone being a helicopter pilot, I didn't want to be a pilot in the first place. It all, is a quirk of fate that it happened so.
Okay.
My form for the Indian Air Force was filled by my classmate. I was actually a hardcore
That's
army.
interesting. Filled by your classmate.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was an army optee since the beginning because I had my uncle who was in the army.
Okay.
And since the early childhood, I used to see him, wearing the uniform and the stars and everything. And I was quite mighty impressed with that. So I wanted to become an army officer.
Okay.
But being the lazy one that I am, it was my classmate who filled up my form. And I was in fact in Bangalore at that point of time when my call letter came for going for SSB for Air Force.
Okay.
So I was a little surprised, but then I came to know that there is a mistake in the form and I have to go for the Air Force interview. So I went for the interview to Dehradun.
This was in which year, like?
That was back in 1999.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went for the interview and I cleared it. And then for next 4 years, I was trying my level best to convert, change my service from Air Force to Army. But it didn't happen. So I ended up being in the Air Force. And even in the Air Force, when I reached over there, after we completed our first 6 months of training,
Okay.
so we were supposed to, give a preference for the stream that you want to go in. So there were like 3 streams, transports, fighters and helicopters. So my first option was transports. Thereafter it was the fighters and last was the helicopters.
So it's everything like what you wanted. It just came to you.
It just came to me because, we have this thing in the Indian Air Force that after your first 6 months of flying is complete and you're going for the trifurcation, one of the instructors from the helicopter fighters and the transport stream, they come over and then they talk to you about the life in the the stream per se. So I still remember the instructor who came to talk about the helicopter, and he said a very beautiful thing.
Okay.
He said that it's very easy to take somebody's life, but it takes a lot of courage to save somebody's life. And
Wow,
that just tilted the the list a little bit. Okay. So the helicopter became second, fighter became the last one. And as luck would have it, I ended up being in helicopters after that.
That's an amazing journey and something that you didn't plan at all.
Not at
right?
all. Not planned at all.
Okay. Okay. So how do you feel now after so many years being as a helicopter pilot?
I am a firm believer in destiny now, and I'm happy that it happened that way.
Okay, that's nice. And how about you when you take delegates, Prime Minister? How did you feel at that time? What was that kind of a feeling, especially when you're carrying a very...
I know it's something which we keep doing in the Air Force, and as a junior pilot, I always used to look down upon it. I used to think that waiting for the VIPs for 2 hours on the helipad and why it is so important.
Yeah.
But then finally, when I became the commanding officer of the unit, I was posted in the unit which was doing VIP operations.
Okay.
And I can tell you for a fact that the first time when I did my flying with the VIP, it was the vice president and it gave me so much immense pride, so much
Wow.
joy after the sortie was over, because that was the ex-Vice President, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, with whom I flew his final sortie.
Okay.
So he was doing a visit to the Gujarat to Dwarkadhish temple,
Okay.
and after landing, he came and he shook my hand and he told that it's a very good sortie that you did, and I'm really thankful to you. So every time you fly the VIP, it's like a lot of pride that you get, because you have to realize these sorties are very high pressure,
Okay.
because there's so many agencies involved.
Of course, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are so many agencies involved, but at the same point of time, you know that you can't make any mistake. There is like no room for error at all. So it's challenging,
There's
but
a lot of pressure, right?
there is pressure.
How did you cope up with that?
Uh, it's just that over a period of time you learn to like kind of zone out when you sit in the cockpit and you just concentrate on the work that you're doing.
Okay.
So in the back of the mind, you know that there is somebody very, very important sitting behind, but you focus on the task that is there in the cockpit, and that's how.
Does it affect at that moment? Like, does it, because you're under so much of pressure, that's the main thing. Mentally, you're strong enough to take it ahead.
I think that is one thing which I can say for a fact that military aviation teaches you, how to cope up with pressure. From very beginning, you go for missions which are a little less pressure, and as you keep growing in the service, keep gaining more and more experience, you fly for missions which are high pressure, and that kind of like builds up your aviation career.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes, did you ever felt when you were in a war zones or places like this is it, this is the end? Did you ever go through that moment?
Not exactly in the war zone, but like we have been into missions which are counter-insurgency operations. I've been part of many missions in the Chhattisgarh area where we do the anti-Naxal operations. But one incident stands out in my mind, wherein we had a technical failure in our helicopter, and there's a very grave emergency in helicopter known as the tail rotor failure.
Okay.
And if the tail rotor fails, the helicopter is literally out of control. And we crash landed, and it was just a matter of 15 seconds from the time the emergency happened to the time we crash landed. And I still remember that there's this movie which I saw when I was, I think, probably in my late teens or I think early 20s. There's a movie by in which Musafir, Sanjay Dutt is one of the actors. He says that when you're dying, the entire life, kind of revolves in front of your eyes. And in those 15 seconds, I actually remembered like all the important people in my life.
Oh God,
and yeah, that day I actually thought that this is like the end of it.
Okay. That's scary as well. And
it was.
Hats off to you to keep yourself strong enough at that moment. So Sunil, have you ever gone through emotionally, have you ever broken down with certain things or crisis? At that moment also you had to fly. How did you feel about that? How did you cope up with it?
Okay, that's an interesting question because, being a military aviator, you are taught to be tough in every situation.
Yes.
And in general, like if you're flying a machine, be it, military flying or commercial flying, there are a lot of lives which are dependent on you. So you're supposed to be tough at all point of time. But, there are times in your life when certain things happen which kind of, really breaks you down. So the thing that you asked, I still remember, I don't know why Bangalore keeps coming back into the equation again and again, but this happened.
Because you're in Bangalore.
Yeah, right over here in Bangalore only.
Okay.
2018, in the Aero India show, we were doing the display. And one of my very, very close friend who was, was my schoolmate. He was a junior in my school. Then he joined Air Force after me. I kind of like trained him to become a pilot along with me.
Okay.
And then he was in the fixed wing display team of the Indian Air Force. And there was a crash over here in the Aero India in 2018.
Okay.
And we had our display right after it.
Right after that?
Yeah.
You had come to know about the crash and
yes, I had.
He is no more.
Exactly. So I had come to know about the crash, and it was a tough moment at that point of time. And I won't lie, I actually really cried my heart out in a corner. But then finally you have to do the task. And generally before any mission that I fly, I kind of just put my headphones on, put the phone in the airplane mode, and listen to some music and just calm myself down. And then thereafter I went for the mission and I flew it. But that was one part where, I really was like
Hats
really
off
low.
to you, Captain, for this. It's not an easy thing.
Yeah, but then at the same point of time, I think this is what aviation teaches you, that you have to keep your emotion aside when you finally sit in the cockpit, because you have to like kind of zone out.
Correct.
And it is that state wherein you don't think about anything else except what is there in the cockpit. And there's a lot of background preparation which goes before you actually head to the cockpit.
True.
Just to give you a small example, the display flying that we used to do, the entire duration of the display is just 15 minutes.
Okay.
For that moment, only these birds are in the sky. But there is a almost 2 hours briefing before that. Then we have a walk-in brief of about 30 minutes. Then we do the 15 minutes display, we land back, and then there's again 2 hours of debrief.
Wow.
So for a mission of 15 minutes, you have to actually fly, work for almost 5 hours.
Yeah.
So that preparation that you do on the ground kind of, helps you to completely focus on the task at hand and in the cockpit.
But actually, if I say, there is where wind chases, that's a change I'm trying to bring in. Making the student pilots itself mentally strong. It means a lot, when a student, they need to be prepared what's coming ahead of them. They need to be prepared that they're carrying the lives of people. So we assess every student of us every 15 days, every month, what's happening with them, what's mentally running behind their head. That's so important for a student. And I wish everybody does that for the student who is just starting the journey itself, to build up that, till they come up to come to sit on the
you're taking care of, kids who are like 17, 18 years old. They are actually getting into high pressure situation for the first time in their life. So for them to understand the kind of pressures that happen in the cockpit, till the time the things are going all right, everything is, good. But the moment something happens in the cockpit, there is some emergency, something which you have not prepared for.
True.
That is where mental toughness comes. And you taking care of them, talking with them. I was saying before also that you interact with your students quite a lot. It's a very good thing. You have to make them mentally strong to face the world.
Thank you, Sunil. Actually, that's what we want to do in Wind Chasers. Build up that foundation so strong to them, till they reach over there in the cockpit.
That's wonderful.
Sunil, can you walk us through Tamil Nadu fire rescue mission? A little bit, a glimpse about how it is.
Okay. This rescue operation is very close to my heart. This happened back in 2016, if I'm not wrong, 16 or 17. And I had recently converted to the ALH helicopter at that point of time. And I just became part of the Sarang aerobatic display team, which is one of the only 4 helicopter display aerobatic team in the world.
Okay.
And the entire team was in Mauritius. They were doing a display, and just the mere fact that I had recently converted, I was not part of the the display in the Mauritius. And with me there was another guy who was junior to me, and he is also recently converted. So we both were like fairly new, and we were holding the fort back in Coimbatore in the unit that we were, and we got a call from our air officer commanding. And he told me to meet in his office. So we reached over there, and he explained the entire situation.
Until then, you were not aware.
I had zero clue.
No clue about it at all. Okay.
So I generally thought that I must have done some mistake. That's why I'm being called right now.
Okay.
So, but then we reached over there, and he told about this situation where about 40-50 school students are stuck in a forest fire in this place called Theni, and he explained the entire mission to me, and he just asked me, "Are you confident of doing it?" And I told him, "Sir, I have never flown in the ALH in the hills. I have recently converted, but I am confident." So he told, "So just go ahead with it." And I told him, "Sir, just give me like half an hour to plan the entire mission. And once I have planned it, I'll tell you my plan of action, and thereafter we'll go ahead with it." So we planned the entire mission together. We thought about the search patterns that we are going to carry out.
So how many people were there in the mission? Like how number?
It was basically me as the captain of the aircraft, my co-pilot, and there was one flight gunner that we carry in our helicopter, who is in the cargo compartment behind. So 3 of us were there. We planned the entire mission. We thought about the search patterns that we will carry out, and we took off from Coimbatore after briefing our AOC. But the moment we reached there, all the plans went for a 6. Because it was like the entire valley was full of smoke. The fire was quite widespread, and we were not able to see anything. So based on the last location that we had of the people, we started carrying out our search patterns, and we loitered in the entire area for about an hour But
How do you do that so many miles up there?
generally in helicopters, you get the option of flying little low.
Okay.
That is one speciality about the helicopter, that you can fly low. So we were approximately a height of about 1.5 kilometer or so, and the hills in that general area about 1 kilometer height. So we were searching, but we were not able to locate anything. Took almost an hour, and it was like going close to the sunset time,
Okay.
and we thought like we'll head back to our base.
Okay.
But then my co-pilot was, he had a very keen sense of
Did you had
observation.
that feeling? What if we go back and still they are there
Yeah,
alive?
that feeling is
yes.
always there in the back of the mind
Yes,
when you
you,
go for
you
a
want to
rescue
go
mission.
with that guilt, we went back just 5-10 minutes.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
What you're saying is absolutely right, because most of the helicopter missions that you fly are related to some rescue or something. So generally, helicopter pilots are supposed to have little emotional heart, which makes them to push
Right.
for the mission. So we searched for about an hour, and then finally he was able to locate a red flag on top of a hill. So somehow through the smoke, we made an approach for that place.
Okay.
And once we reached over there, we realized that there is no place to land. So we kind of like just hovered the helicopter very close to the hill.
Okay.
And there were Indian Air Force commandos who were there, who helped the people to board the aircraft. A couple of dead bodies also, which we had to carry. And we rescued the commandos also.
Okay.
So we picked all of them, and then we head back to the base.
What kind of a feeling you get at that moment? You have dead bodies also, people alive also. Like, how do you feel at that moment,
It is slightly difficult in the beginning, but like it is something like the work of a surgeon. The first time when you do surgery, your hands shake a little, you feel a little nervous. So it is something similar to the pilots also. I have done numerous missions in which we have carried people who are grievously injured or dead bodies also. So first couple of times it does affect you a lot. Then over a period of time you become more and more mentally strong, and then you kind of like it's part of the job. And you are able to do it without feeling emotional about it.
Okay, that's an amazing, whatever you have gone through, and you have taken the whole mission on your shoulders and done it successfully, in fact. And what do you feel now about this current generation? What do you feel that they have to, how do they go through this entire journey of their helicopter training or become a helicopter pilot for them?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, being a helicopter pilot, you would have seen, as in your academy also,
Yeah.
not many people know about helicopters.
Yes.
And one of the reasons is that, most of us travel by the civil airliners. We see the pilot, we get attracted to the glamour behind the pilot. But I can definitely say that very few of us get the opportunity to actually ride in a helicopter. So
Yes.
most of the people don't have an ideal, most of the people don't have anybody to look up to become a helicopter pilot. So that is one of the reasons you don't see many helicopter pilot around.
Yes.
Even in
that's very true.
Yeah, in the civil industry, if you see the commercial helicopter operations, most of the helicopter pilots are ex-military.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. But
No.
now I think market should open. It is open, in fact.
Yeah, definitely
There's
it's opening
so
up.
much demand in India right now, but still there is no awareness.
All I can say to the people over here is that once you explore this helicopter market, it is going to boom, and it is actually booming right now. Basically, the number of helicopters which are there in the civil market and the pilots which are there is a huge gap between the demand and supply. So they are looking for pilots, but they don't have. Okay. So anybody who wants to become a helicopter pilot needs to remember three things. Firstly, helicopter flying is not easy, but at the same point of time, it is one of the most satisfying flying that you can get. It is not
Flying.
Yes, because in the commercial planes that you fly, it is more of being a system operator. You're managing everything, but probably in the entire day you might carry out a couple of landings at max. In helicopters, you're flying into areas where nobody has gone before. That is one part of the helicopter flying which really attracted me, that you go and see places which nobody has seen.
That's why, Wind Chasers is promoting more and more about helicopter career. People are not aware, students are not aware. They just think it's just a recreational one or a hobby flying, but they don't know that this can be a career too. What advice do you think you can give an 18-year-old who wants to be a pilot?
What I want to tell a person who is just going into the aviation, the helicopter market is going to boom. And close to just about 1 week back only, we had this meeting in Delhi and Bombay also, if I'm not wrong, of the helicopter operators, wherein close to about 1,000 plus helicopters are going to come in next 5 to 10 years.
That's amazing and a big number.
Yeah, that's a big number, and the number of pilot requirement is going to increase substantially. And helicopter pay you equally well as compared to the commercial planes also.
Definitely. That's what people need to know. It's just not about glamour, even the pays are good in this.
The pays are very good.
Yes, because always I see a student comparing that's more glamorous and this is not glamorous, non-glamorous, there is where they move back, but they don't know what all adventure they're going to.
If you have a passion for flying, if the first thing because of which you want to become a pilot is passion for flying, helicopter will give you that satisfaction. Okay. Second thing, if you want to earn money,
yes,
helicopter will give you that also.
And as well as a relaxed life, not a hectic life as you see in commercial.
There are two sides to it.
Okay.
Commercial flying is definitely more hectic in terms of there are no fixed working hours for them. Helicopters per se, the working hours are quite laid out. There is no night flying, so you kind of stick to the day flying. Plus, you get like regular offs. So most of the helicopter companies which work nowadays work on the model of either 30 days on, 30 days off, or 40 days on, or 20 days off. So on an average, you fly between 7 to 8 months at max in the year, and you get 4 months for yourself. No commercial plane company will give you this option of close to about 120 days of holidays in a year.
Okay,
and
that's what I'm saying. It has its own relaxed life as
absolutely.
well.
So you get time to fly. You get the challenging flying, and at the same point of time, you get time for yourself,
your family.
Absolutely.
You can do many
It's a
other
perfect
things.
work-life balance, I could say.
Perfect. That's what the student needs to understand when it comes to the career of helicopter. There are lot of much more opportunities which they are not exploring. Sunil, what do you want to say to the students who wants to become a heli pilot? We all know it's an expensive career, right? What message do you want to give to the students? How do they achieve that dream of theirs?
There was this reel that I was watching on Instagram yesterday only, and in that reel, it's basically a clip from a movie, and the very beautiful thing that the main protagonist in that scene tells to the doctor, he tells her that what's the biggest lie that people tell you, and she asks him what's that thing, and he replies to her that it's not simple. So people think that it's difficult, and I don't say that it's not difficult, but that's a lie. Everything is simple until the time you're ready to work hard for it.
Okay.
And there's this very famous quote which I always carry with me for I think for last 15-20 years. I read it long back when I think I was starting my flying career, that behind every overnight success is 20 years of hard work.
Okay.
So you need to be ready for the hard work.
Okay.
If you do your job well, if you prepare well for it, the money part, which is what you are hinting at, flying is an expensive proposition. So even if you become a commercial airliner pilot or a commercial helicopter pilot, it's going to cost you money. But at the same point of time, if you prepare well, you become a pilot, the returns are also equally good.
They can cover up that loan what they take, right?
Absolutely.
Within few years.
Especially in the helicopter fleet, if you start flying outside, the first officers from the beginning very easily get pays above 1.5 lakh per month, and for a captain who has got his IR ratings and everything, it can even touch 8, 9, 10 lakh also.
Okay.
So, which is quite a substantial amount. So whatever loan that you have taken,
you
can probably repay it in a couple of years only.
Yes.
So that's not a very big deal.
It's just a little push and confidence.
Absolutely. You need to believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself. Determination is important that they want to do this, and then they are there in the cockpit and they can cover up that loans.
And don't think that it's going to happen overnight.
Yes.
You need to slog in the hours. You need to do the hard work, because all that is presented in front of us, is a pilot who is wearing his uniform and walking to the cockpit. It all looks very glamorous, but behind that, the pilot has done a lot of hard work on ground to reach that stage. For every mission that you fly, you need to prepare beforehand. So it's like a lifelong thing.
Yes.
When I joined the military aviation, a lot of people used to tell me that तुमने फौज join कर लिया, पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. But
फौज join करने से क्या हो जाएगा?
People used to think that generally in our generation that people who are studious, they join engineering or become doctors and things like that, and people who are like
correct,
like average like me, they will join Fauj. But being a pilot, you have to give your exams every year. I've been giving exam for last 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, my kids look at me and they say कि पापा आप same किताब हर साल पढ़ते रहते हो.
It keeps you on toes. You have to study. You have to give because you are.
So there is no substitute for the hard work. You have to do the hard work, and the money part can be taken care of. It's not very difficult.
Yes, that's true. What you said, you know, it all depends on the student, how determined and how much they want to really achieve their dream.
Absolutely.
During your rescue mission for the children, at that moment, did you feel like a parent or like a pilot who was rescuing? What came that thought in your mind? Because there were little children out there.
That's true. I told you before, and also helicopter pilots generally are little emotional because we fly a lot of rescue missions, and every time we go for a rescue mission, there is some life at stake. So it kind of pushes you at times to to push your boundaries to do something. When you rescue old people, you sometimes think about your parents. When you rescue children, you sometimes think about your own children.
Yes.
But I'll tell you one thing. Any mission that we fly, again, when we go in the cockpit, it's finally what we want to achieve. We try as far as possible to keep the emotions outside the cockpit.
Okay, that's amazing. That's really amazing. Just a little simple thing which I'm always curious to know. What does pilot do when they are not flying? What are their hobbies and what is this you people like to do, to cut down that pressure from your head and all that things.
You mean to say in the cockpit?
No, coming out of the cockpit.
Coming out of the cockpit.
Yeah,
okay.
What are your hobbies and what is that makes you relax about this? Because you're continuously flying at times.
That's
you're going through even a jolly ride, even which is that. Otherwise, you're in a missions where you're saving people. How do you calm yourself down?
So for me, music is a big, a stress buster for me.
Okay.
Anytime I go before the mission, I have to listen to a couple of my favorite songs.
So can we listen to you today? A little one line at least?
I think it's better that the great people who have sung that song is better. But yeah, I listen to a lot of rock music. I listen to old classics also.
Fauji would sing really well. I would love to hear you. A little bit of, anything that comes in your mind.
There's this very famous song. It's an old Hindi classic, which I don't know if I'm able to sing it, but it goes with that line, मैं जिंदगी का साथ निभाता चला गया, हर फिक्र को धुएं में उड़ाता चला गया. So this is one of my favorite songs. Plus there are a lot of other songs which I listen, but it's just to calm myself down. In addition, whenever I get time, I like to read, so I always carry my book along. So being a helicopter pilot, you land up at odd places.
Yeah.
You end up doing night halts at places where you have not planned.
Yes.
So there's always a book in my bag, which I read.
Okay.
And whenever I get time, I like to ride my bike.
What about food, sir? Food, yeah. Like you may fly anywhere, any place. Like how?
I love to explore new cuisines.
Yeah, you do,
Yeah.
and you love to ride as well.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really nice. So have you covered many places?
More on the helicopter, less on the bike.
Road trip?
Yeah, but I do a lot of road trips
Okay.
off late since I've started getting a little more time.
Okay, that's really nice to hear.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about what is the comparison between Air Force pilot and a commercial pilot? Do you want to throw some light on that? Is it okay for you to answer?
Yeah, absolutely. I have not done commercial flying, but I have a lot of friends who do commercial flying. So, I'm always in touch with them. The helicopter community outside is again very small. Most of the pilots are helicopter pilots. So you keep talking with them. The missions that we fly in Air Force and in the commercial flying, there are a lot of missions which are similar. Like communication sorties where you pick up passengers from one place to another. It's a similar thing which you do in the commercial flying.
Okay.
Offshore flying used to happen in the Air Force also. It happens here also.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, you do survey flying in Air Force also.
Yes.
You do survey flying in the civil street also. But couple of things which the civil market has not tapped in as of now. One of them is the disaster relief operations, which is primarily the responsibility of the military aviation. And almost every helicopter pilot you meet will have a story to tell about some rescue operation that they have carried out. So that is one thing in which the civil market has, civil pilots have not really tapped the market. The casualty evacuation is again one thing which happens a lot in the Air Force. It happens in the civil street also, but it's little restricted.
Right. And ambulance.
Yeah. Air ambulance also.
Don't you think India needs that? Because the way the traffic is, That's the only way,
I
a
see.
patient who is very, very serious can be flown to that place easily.
Big hospitals have started doing the air ambulance thing, but till the time the entire ecosystem for the
Yes.
civil helicopter is not created, the prices will not come down. It's still out of the reach of a lot of people. That is one major thing. But then if you look at the way the traffic is increasing, like it is there in Bangalore, which you guys
Oh my
suffer
God,
every day.
yes, of course. Bangalore traffic is
So
really bad
things
now,
like
yes.
organ transportation, medevac, from
Okay.
shifting people from one hospital to the
Yes,
airport and
yes.
things like that. This is going to increase furthermore, and that is a market which is there to be tapped.
Okay.
And the companies, the more number of companies come in, the prices are going to come down. It will help the people also, and people will realize the importance of helicopter flying.
Okay, that's nice. That's actually what you said is, means a lot. That not only helicopter pilot, there's so many verticals in that. I
That
wish
is true.
students can understand that, there is just so many opportunities out there for them to approach and, grab it right now in India. I wish we can create more awareness like this for the students.
Just to build up on the thing that you said, a small comparison, the number of helicopters in a country like United States of America is close to about 9,000 helicopters. What we have in India is somewhere around 300 plus.
Yes.
So there is a huge market.
Huge market.
And I've traveled to a lot of countries. There was this another incident that I can just narrate to you. I was there in the United Kingdom, and we had gone for a scuba diving. And while we were returning back, we saw a road crash in front of us.
Okay.
And within, I will not
Minutes?
say minutes, there was a helicopter which landed on the highway, picked up the casualty, picked it up, and took them to helicopter and saved their lives. Such kind of things.
I wish India brings this as soon as possible,
Absolutely.
because we are growing so well, and I think this is a part somewhere we all
Absolutely.
need ambulances.
So the
Yes.
medical ambulances, medical evacuation, or organ transportation. Because right now, what we are only thinking is in terms of tourism, and
Yes.
the Char Dham
Yes,
Yatra
exactly.
offshore.
We are stuck over there, not exploring all these places where it is much more important.
Absolutely. So we are like focused on very, very limited sectors right now. And once the more number of helicopters starts coming up, people start hiring them, the possibilities are actually endless.
Endless there. Hope so. Hope so. Things change now, coming forward,
Definitely.
and we can also be a big part of this ecosystem.
For sure.
And Sunil, whenever as a woman, I feel, how many women pilots are there in helicopter? Approximately. I know you can't keep a count of it. Approximately.
I cannot put an exact number, but over a period of last 22 years since I have flown, I would have met around 150 to 200 plus.
Do students come forward for this? Do girls come forward for
Oh,
this?
yes.
Yes.
In fact, we have some of the best, women helicopter pilots that I have served along with, and they were wonderful when they used to fly.
Okay.
Unfortunately, most of them were initially short service commissioned, so they had left by now. But they are the women helicopter pilots have been there since the time I have got commissioned in 2003.
Okay.
And I've been flying. I've been flying with them for last 20 years, and they do pretty well.
I just want to know, I hope the parents are, I love those parents, I would say, who has sent their children, their daughters to do this something new for themselves.
No, I mean, again, like my instructor used to tell me, once you sit in the cockpit doesn't know who is flying over there.
True. But still, Indians are still they don't have that kind of confidence when it comes to aviation to send their girls. Though we are the highest number when it comes to
That
women
is true.
pilots, right?
I sincerely
Yes.
hope that it changes, and it is changing.
Yes.
We see more and more number of women pilot in the Air Force for sure, that I can tell you. And even in helicopters also in the civil market, I know of couple of lady pilots who are not from the military background, from the civil background, who are flying helicopters.
Wonderful. I really hope that more girls come forward to take this career. It has a lot of potential, and we women can do anything.
Absolutely.
Sunil, may I ask you a question? What did 22 years of serving in sky cost you personally?
20 years of flying in the sky costed me a lot of my Saturdays, Sundays. A lot of mental
Weekends?
peace. Yeah, weekends were never there.
Okay.
And there have been times, especially with the VIP flying, Generally, most of the VIPs, obviously, they've got work on the weekdays, so they fly on the weekends. So I used to work from Monday to Friday in my office, and then Saturday, Sunday, I'm taking them around.
Okay.
So yeah, I can say a lot of free time which I could have got.
Yeah.
It kind of like went up in the sky along with them.
Wow. Okay, nice. So do you regret that?
No,
Or
I don't.
you are
I don't regret it right now because one of the best part about the VIP operations is that you again get to see places which generally you won't, get the
not skies, then what's next now?
skies are just around the corner. They will be always there. But then, I have done one part of my life where I have flown for almost 22 plus years.
Yes.
And I still want to stay connected with the aviation
Okay.
and do something in the aviation field, probably motivate people to join flying
Aviation, yes.
and share whatever knowledge that I've gained in the last 22 years with them.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful of you, Sunil. You can inspire a lot of students out there. Thank you, Sunil, for coming and giving us your insights and your journey and what all you faced and encouraging every student here at Winches's and giving that kind of a complete scenario how to become a pilot and what it is to be a pilot. That's
Thank you so
important.
much. Thank you so much, man. I hope people do get to, more and more people come forward and start flying helicopters.
Yes. Thank you, Sunil.